The mystery of Koresh. Welcome. In Isaiah chapter 44 and 45 we encounter a remarkable figure called Koresh. Traditionally, this figure has been identified with Cyrus the Persian. Yet when we read Isaiah itself, an interesting question emerges. The text does not introduce Koresh as Cyrus the Persian. It does not provide a genealogy. It does not identify him as a foreign king. Instead, Koresh appears suddenly in the prophetic narrative and receives some of the most extraordinary titles found anywhere in Scripture. Isaiah calls him Jehovah's shepherd. Isaiah says he will fulfill Jehovah's purpose. Isaiah even associates him with the rebuilding of Jerusalem and the temple. Who is this figure? Is Koresh simply a personal name? Or could Koresh be something more? This presentation explores the possibility that Koresh is not merely a historical king, but a title connected to Isaiah's mysterious servant. The traditional explanation is straightforward. Isaiah lived in the 8th century BC. Cyrus the Persian lived approximately a century and a half later. Therefore, many scholars concluded that Isaiah could not have written these passages. The solution became the Deutero-Isaiah hypothesis. According to this theory, chapters 40 through 55 were composed by a later anonymous author during the Babylonian exile, long after Isaiah's lifetime. This theory has become widely accepted because it appears to solve the Cyrus problem. But the entire argument depends upon one assumption: that Koresh is unquestionably Cyrus the Persian. What if that assumption is incorrect? What if Koresh is a title rather than a personal name? The Koresh hypothesis begins with language. In Egyptian, the word kerpu carries meanings such as governor, overseer, chief, or leader. Another Egyptian word, kapesh, can refer to a forge, foundry, armory, or place where weapons are made. When these ideas are combined, a conceptual title emerges: governor of the furnace. The Hebrew language contributes additional imagery. The furnace and the fire become symbols of refinement, transformation, and creation. Under this model, Koresh is not merely the name of an individual. It becomes a functional title: a master craftsman, a forger, a leader who transforms both materials and people, a governor of the furnace. Something remarkable happens when we compare the servant passages with the Koresh passages. The servant is called Jehovah's chosen. Koresh is called Jehovah's anointed. The servant is taken by the hand. Koresh's right hand is grasped by Jehovah. The servant restores Jacob. Koresh rebuilds Jerusalem. The servant fulfills Jehovah's purpose. Koresh fulfills Jehovah's purpose. The language is strikingly similar. Rather than describing two entirely separate individuals, these passages appear to share a common vocabulary and mission. Perhaps the servant and Koresh are connected more deeply than has traditionally been recognized. Isaiah's servant is refined in the furnace. He carries divine teaching. He restores covenant people. He travels outward from Jerusalem. He reaches distant islands. He builds a temple. He transforms nations. He establishes Zion. Notice the progression: furnace, teaching, journey, islands, temple, Zion. This is not merely a theological mission. It is a civilizational mission. The question naturally follows: who in Scripture combines craftsmanship, teaching, migration, temple building, and nation building? At this point another figure enters the discussion: Nephi. Unlike most scriptural figures, Nephi combines a remarkable range of abilities. He is a prophet, a teacher, a record keeper, a metalworker, a toolmaker, a shipbuilder, a temple builder, and ultimately, a founder of nations. Nephi receives revelation. He preserves sacred records. He works with ore and tools. He constructs an ocean-going vessel. He establishes a new covenant society. Few figures in Scripture combine all these capabilities. For that reason, Nephi becomes a compelling candidate for Isaiah's servant. Now we compare the mission itself. Isaiah's servant is refined. Nephi is refined through trials and affliction. The servant carries divine teaching. Nephi carries revelation and sacred records. The servant restores covenant people. Nephi gathers and preserves his family. The servant journeys to distant lands. Nephi leaves Jerusalem and crosses the sea. The servant reaches the islands. Nephi arrives in a distant promised land. The servant builds a temple. Nephi builds a temple. The servant transforms nations and establishes Zion. Nephi founds a covenant civilization. Step by step, the missions align. The pattern is difficult to ignore. Many figures in Scripture fulfill portions of Isaiah's servant description. Some are teachers, some are builders, some are deliverers, some are prophets, but Nephi appears to satisfy the entire pattern simultaneously. He is refined, he teaches, he restores, he journeys, he reaches distant lands, he builds, he transforms, he founds. The significance is not that Nephi fulfills one element. The significance is that he fulfills all of them together. Among known scriptural figures, Nephi may be the strongest candidate for the Servant-Koresh profile. If Nephi is the servant, why does Isaiah not name him directly? Nephi leaves Jerusalem permanently, never to return. He crosses the sea. He establishes a civilization far beyond the awareness of later Judean history. From the perspective of Jerusalem and their knowledge centers, he disappears. His works remain. His name does not. Centuries later, Cyrus the Persian performs some actions that resemble portions of Isaiah's prophecy. He permits restoration. He supports rebuilding. As a result, later writers naturally associate Isaiah's language with Cyrus. Yet similarity does not necessarily imply identity. The hypothesis proposed here is that Cyrus partially resembles the servant's mission, but does not exhaust it. The original servant remains someone else. Someone who left the region entirely. We arrive at the final proposition. There existed an unnamed servant, a governor of the furnace, a master craftsman, a carrier of divine teaching, a builder of temples, a founder of covenant peoples, a forger of nations. This servant left Jerusalem, crossed the sea, reached distant islands, established a new people, and built a new Zion. His technologies included metallurgy, toolmaking, thermal engineering, woodworking, shipbuilding, record-keeping, temple construction, and nation-building. He transformed swords into plowshares and spears into pruning hooks, fulfilling the peaceful vision described in Isaiah chapter 2 verse 4. The servant did not merely forge metal. He forged a people, he forged a nation, he forged a new Zion. And among known scriptural figures, Nephi stands as the strongest candidate for that role. Koresh, governor of the furnace, servant to the islands, forger of nations.